Broadway, and Broadway name for Julie James. Here is Julie James.
We are so excited to explore the world of Once on This Island and Anastasia. And I want to invite all of you to send in some questions. If you have a question, we can take it from up here on the stage a little later. Just use the hashtag on Twitter, BroadwayCon JTTI. BroadwayCon JTTI. That's Journey to the Island. So we also we're going to kick things off in a really major way with a very special surprise treat, because very momentarily we are bringing out the fabulous Lynn Ahrens. But just for us BroadwayConners, we have a special surprise. It's none other than Stephen Flaherty.
Composer of Anastasia and Once on This Island, giving a shout out to BroadwayCon. Thanks for coming today. I wish I could be there in person with you. But I did want to introduce this great panel that you're about to see. There are three amazing women talking about amazing women characters. The first is my better half, lyricist Lynn Ahrens, who wrote the book and lyrics for Once on This Island and the lyrics for Anastasia. Our leading lady for Anastasia, Christy Altomare, who won an award for that role. And our leading lady for Once on This Island, making her Broadway debut at age 18, Hailey Kilgore. I know it's going to be a lively conversation. I know you're in for a good time, so give it up for these three Wonder Women of the theater.
So here they are, Hailey Kilgore, Christy Altomare, and so this is incredible. Lynn and Stephen have 2 concurrent running Broadway shows. Congratulations. How does that feel for you right now, Lynn?
It feels a little bit like a child at Christmas when you walk out into the living room and it's all this wonder and amazement that this actually happened. It's amazing, really. Yeah.
I think we could probably all get a campaign for a third. Who wants Ragtime Revival?
We're working on it.
Let us tap into the power of BroadwayCon and make that happen. Everyone start secreting it right now. It is really remarkable that you have these shows that are centered around these really wonderful women. And to have a strong central woman's character in each of these shows is something that I think is really worth talking about today. And I've been struck lately by the fact that both of your characters, you beautiful ladies smiling back at me, oh, I'm just in a dream right now. You are both on a quest to find yourselves. And it's so interesting how different the shows are, but how that theme is sort of woven through the shows for both of you. And I think everyone here would probably love to hear Christy and Hailey's thoughts about the journey to finding themselves.
Well, it's a part of life, right? We all, through experiences in our lives, whether they be positive or negative, come to conclusions and find ourselves in many different ways, in many different aspects, and many as the years go on. And what's so great about getting to play Anya is that against all odds and against all the hardship that she's had to face throughout her life, she's always moved forward with this kind of strength and positivity and perseverance. And I've sort of always felt that way in my life, that no matter what happens, even the hard times make us stronger and make us better. And as a woman, I feel so proud to get to portray another strong woman who has gone through so much and has persevered and succeeded, and there's joy at the end, so it's wonderful. Yeah. There's always joy at the end of the window.
Hailey, you go on a journey of your own as well. It may not be Paris, but it is to another world, another part of the island. Tell us about, and also what I love about Once on This Island is we also get to see the people around you, like Julian and Tantan, having to deal with you, and you're finding yourself as well. So it really impacts many people in the show, and that way it's not just a personal journey. Talk with us about your finding your Tihoon.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, one of the first things that I really thought about when they asked me to do the show, and I walked out of the room right when they did it, embarrassingly enough, I am following behind not only LaShawne's, who is incredible, yes, but I'm also making my Broadway debut as a teenager, playing a teenager. So I think one of the things that I just realized in one of my last interviews that I did was the thing about Tihoon's journey is she doesn't realize all of these milestones. She doesn't realize because she's so driven and she's so passionate about what she wants, and that's to find this boy. So I think it's a really good reminder of, in your everyday life, sometimes you don't take the time to realize, ooh, I made a mini milestone today. Like, I wasn't a super perfectionist about, the show didn't go perfectly, and little things like that, you learn to take in and to really embrace. So I'm really happy that I'm learning those things.
Yeah. I love the fact that your women are teaching you things as you continue to play them, right? Yeah, Christy, sounds like you have a big reaction to that.
Well, Anya's a very strong character, and from Hartford to now, she's only gotten stronger in my portrayal, and I think, it's so funny because at the beginning, I think I was playing her more like meek and you realize, she has been through so much, and she traveled all across Russia, and she has this sort of exterior where it's like, I'm strong, I can get through anything. And so to carry that chip with me in the show has not only helped the show, but me as a person, with that kind of strength that I've had throughout my life, and it's just really cool that it's portrayed in this character.
Yeah. So let us ask, how could we not ask Lynn Ahrens about building these remarkable women? Was it something that you were thinking of as you and Stephen developed the show, as you're writing these incredible lyrics that really are telling the story, to coin one of your marvelous lyrics? What was going through your mind when you were, I know these were two monumental experiences, writing both Anastasia in its original form, and can we just also take in that Once on This Island was the Broadway debut of Ahrens and Flaherty? That was their very first show on Broadway. You've heard this from me before. It's so remarkable what a piece of perfection it is, and for you to have blasted on the scene with that as your Broadway debut is just, it's really mind-blowing. But those are two very big jobs. What was going through your mind as you were writing for these women?
Well, Once on This Island was written 27 years ago. which is when I found the book that it's based on. And the book, by the way, if anybody's interested, is My Love by Rosa Guy, who was a Trinidadian author. And I found this little book and I opened it up and started to read it, and I just knew that it should be a musical. It felt very musical. But what I wasn't prepared for was the central character of the book. And at that time, I was pretty new to the theater scene, for sure. I'd been living in New York, and making my way in New York as a songwriter. I was writing for Schoolhouse Rock, and I was writing for a lot of children's television. But you know, I had a career, and I felt pretty confident in that career. But once I started working in the theater, I was like a kid again. You know, it was new, and it was thrilling, and it was scary. And so when I came across this character, this young girl on an unnamed Caribbean island who sets off with this single-minded goal, I was so taken with her, and I felt that she was me in a way. And I really identified with her and with the story of a girl who is just goes in pursuit of her dreams, for better or for worse, you know, and there's some for worse in that story as well. But I was very taken with the idea that, you know, here I was a young woman on this island of Manhattan, trying to learn how to write for the theater, and there's this girl on this other island who is trying to learn what it means to be a grown-up and what it means to be in love. And I felt so close to her as I wrote it that I think there's a whole lot of me in that story and in that character. And now that it's back on Broadway, and now that I feel much less scared, you know, about my place in the world of theater and my place, you know, in the world, I can look back and I can admire what I did as a very young woman, you know, in 1990, which is when the show popped onto Broadway. So, you know, there's a lot of writers in what they write. There's a lot of our hearts and souls in it, and particularly with the character of T. Moon, I think. And then, as far as the character of Anastasia, that was also written back then, and you know, it started out as a movie. It started out as the movie of Anastasia, and we wrote the score. And I always felt there is so much more here. There's so much more than we're being allowed to do, because you know, in an animated movie, there are 5 songs basically most of the time, 5 or 6 songs at the most. It's all there's time for in those things. And so, all these many years later, I got to approach that character, that young woman, with very fresh eyes and just flesh her out. And so it's not just Journey to the Past, it's In My Dreams, and it's all these Crossing a Bridge, and you know, these songs that got to express her inner self more deeply, and it was such a gift, really, to be able to get to do it now as myself now, and to look at that character and say, what can I bring to her? So.
Wow, that is so neat to think about. You sort of are getting like the ultimate do-over, right? You get to do all the wonderful songs that you had from the film, but then get to take a whole other look at who Anastasia is and who are the characters around her and what is her story.
Exactly.
That's so neat. What a great angle to hear from Lynn Ahrens. Well, everyone is about to get an incredible treat. Not to put anybody on the spot or anything, but you might all want to just hang on to your hats, because we are about to be gifted with a performance by Christy Altomare. Very warm BroadwayCon welcome to our Anastasia, Christy Altomare.
They said I was found by the side of a road. There were tracks all around. It had recently snowed. In the darkness and cold, with the wind in the trees, a girl with no name she's whispering overhead. Call the child Anya, give the child a hat. I don't know a thing before that. Traveling the back roads, sleeping in the wood, taking what I needed, working what I could, keeping up my courage, foolish as it seems, a night all alone in my dreams. In my dreams, shadows call, there's a light at the end of a hall. Then my dreams, they fade, but I know it all will come back one day. I dream of a city beyond all compare to Paris. Paris, a beautiful river, a bridge, a square, and I hear a voice whisper, I'll meet you right there in Paris. You don't know what it's like not to know who you are, to have lived in the shadows and traveled this far. I've seen flashes of fire, heard the echo of screams, but I still have this faith in the truth of my dreams. In my dreams, it's all real, and my heart has so much to reveal. And my dreams seem to say, don't be afraid to go on. Don't give up hope, come what may. I know it all will come back one day.
And Julie, can I just add, she was out on the line after the show last night until 12:30.
I was going to say good morning.
Right? Like, that is incredible. Just incredible. I'm going to brag on her too, Lynn. I have had the honor and pleasure of working with Christy a few times, and including several that had live performances. You're missing a shoe. That's a different show. I need your shoe. So what I was back to bragging on Christy. I've had the honor of working with her several times, including some that included live performances, and seeing you at the theater. It is never not consistent. It is so consistent always. You're in every moment, you're in every beat. It doesn't matter whether you're in an out of context moment like this one or in your beautiful show. You are so wholly committed to Anya. Thank you so much. I love you too. I was just filled with chills. I was just tearing up, filled with goosebumps everywhere. Thank you for that Sunday morning delight. Just incredible. Just incredible.
We don't deserve you, Christy.
I have to make sure that my mascara is not running on down the face. So let's talk about about the island a little bit more. So, I haven't gotten yet to work with you quite as often, and I hope that that will happen very soon because their cast album is only about a month away. When it can finally join its rightful place alongside Anastasia on SiriusXM on Broadway. You can be sure you'll be hearing it loud and proud. But tell us personally, you mentioned earlier making your Broadway debut, playing a young woman as a young woman. I would love to hear just the personal side of that journey. We're watching a young woman find herself, and you spoke about that beautifully before. But what about Hailey? What about Hailey in this personal side of the journey?
Yeah, I mean, it's been quite a whirlwind. I was snatched up out of my first semester of college and thrown into this beautiful industry of Broadway, this community. And I think the first thing was getting over the initial shock of realizing that I'm gonna be on Broadway. And then, you know, there was this beautiful thing that happened about a few months into workshops and rehearsals. I started meeting the Christys and the Lynns and all of the beautiful people, Derek, Isaac, yes. And T. Moon has this incredible community that's behind her, full of people who don't even know her. Animals, like gods, like, you know what I mean? So I think the most incredible and powerful thing for me in this process was really getting to see, you know, I knew I had my family and my friends, but to be meeting all of these people who really truly care about you and your well-being and not just about giving a good performance, but really caring about you as a person has been a really powerful part of me and of doing this show every day and being T. Moon. So yeah, I don't know if that answered your question.
I think it's beautiful, yeah. I think it's beautiful. Absolutely.
Can I just add, because Hailey won't, but we were doing auditions, and they did a pretty much a national and international search for the new T. Moon, and they went to Haiti, New Orleans, Detroit, Chicago, LA, all over the place, looking for a T. Moon. And we got a call from a music teacher in Happy Valley, Oregon, who said, I have a young woman I think you should see. And we said, okay, because we haven't found anybody. And into the room walked this little colt of a girl who blew us away. So, you know, these things happen, and, you know, when it's meant to be, it's meant to be.
Amen to that. It is meant to be for you. It is meant to be for you. One of the things that's so moving about Once on This Island is Michael Arden's incredible vision for the show. And I'm struck by how both shows really have sort of an uncanny timing. That, say for instance, Once on This Island was happening shortly after we were struck by several hurricanes. And when you walk into the theater, you really have that sense, right, of a storm-ravaged place. And with Anastasia, we're going through all kinds of international questions and dramas.
Yes, and revolutions.
Yeah, revolutions, exactly. Revolutions and revelations to bring all the shows into the conversation. But so much of what makes Broadway successful is the timing. It's a little uncanny. I would love to hear any of you chime in on what you're sort of feeling you're bringing to the stage that also reflects what's going on in our current day world.
Are you sure? I think also we haven't touched on this, but social media and just, you know, when I was growing up, we didn't have, I mean, we did have cell phones, but it wasn't, Facebook wasn't what it is, and Instagram, we didn't have Instagram, and we didn't have Twitter, and I think, you know, another thing that's been going on in the news is bad things happening at schools, and I think young kids needing love and support in ways, and in finding it in other ways. And I think one way that young kids find love and support is through art. And I think one of the amazing things about our show that I have found is that it's been a haven for people who don't experience kindness and who experience bullying at school and aren't, or just the people who just aren't understood. And they get to come and see our show and see characters that are strong and are moving forward and say, I can be that. That's me. I can do that. And I think it provides hope and love and to realize that we're not alone.
Yeah.
You know.
Really good. Really good.
I'm going to just bring that question to this panel topic, which is women, and women who empower themselves. And you know, interestingly enough, and I don't know if this stems from me or what, but both of these shows are about powerful women. And you know, what are we talking about? What's in the news every day? Women who are empowering themselves, who are coming forward, who are standing up for themselves, who are bonding together. And you know, if you look at really both of the plots of these shows, I'm so proud that these are two characters who don't need a man to save them. In fact, in very different ways, they save the man. Yes. So I'll just throw that out there. You know, the character of Timoon, played by Hailey Kilgore, is the unifying force for an entire island and has the power and strength to forgive a shitty man for what he has done and to unite the island and to unite two different kinds of people and to offer, you know, love and solace for his children even. And that's such a powerful thing. And Christy and her character of Anya, she's a young woman without an identity who is bound and determined to find that identity, and she does it. And she not only does that pretty much by herself, but she is the catalyst for the whole journey. She enables the Dimitri character and the Vlad character to escape, to start new lives. And you know, it's really nice that they get together at the end, but the fact is she was the mover and shaker, and she kisses him first. So,
And also, Dimitri, I mean, it's really her that causes Dimitri to have a shift in himself.
That's right.
And realize he wants to be a better person.
They're two wonderful characters, and I'm really, truly proud to have written them. And I think what makes both of these shows important, right at this very moment in time, you know, we can talk about natural disasters and all of that stuff, but for me, it is what's happening to young women all over the world, really, in response to our current government, in response to what's been happening for many, many years to women. And, you know, I'm not a rabid feminist. I have had a blessed career. I've never had anybody, you know, back me into a closet or anything. You know, I've never had that experience, and yet I'm so supportive of everybody who is trying to, you know, move forward from a history of women, you know, being underpaid and ill-used and prevented from having opportunities. So I think these two shows, that's what it's about for me.
That you see in both shows. When you start, you touched on this a little bit, when you start the show, there's this certain amount of levels of people. You have the royal family, you have the Bozons. You see this sense of looking down from one person to another. I think the beautiful thing about what you did for both shows is not only do you have these women who are very strong and progressive, but for Timoon, she speaks up, even when people don't think it's okay. And I think that touches people in a way that, you know, is not normal, because it was a thing at a certain point that a woman would just sit and be quiet and keep to herself and not say anything and let things happen. And so I think it's this beautiful thing that this whole village is saying, you know, we have to leave this man here. This is not the way things are. This is not how things are supposed to be. And Timoon speaks up. And I think that was one of the most immediately identifiable things about that character for me when I was introduced to the show. So thank you.
It is powerful to watch. It's really powerful to watch that, and that does affect you. It's visceral in the theater.
Yeah, and both of the ladies break out from the norms, right? They both are bold, they step forward, and that is what women in our 2018 are doing. And I really have to thank each of the ladies here for Lynn for writing these characters, for you for portraying them. You are showing girls and women all over the world how to break out of their box and not do things the old way, and like you said, just not subscribe to the norms. They can go boldly forward and go on their journey.
You always hear like people tell actors, "Oh, it's just too hard. Just don't do it, please." Like everyone always says when you're a kid, like, "Oh, it's too hard. It's too hard." But like everything in life is hard, no matter what it is you do. So you should do the thing you love, right?
Yeah.
And so I think we stand here as living proof that you can do anything you want in your life.
Absolutely.
And at any age.
At any age.
And both of those characters learned that, and both of you ladies are embodying that, and we have to thank Lynn for creating those characters that are speaking to girls and women all around the world. Showing them what's possible.
Well, you know, there's another show that we did that most people have not seen, but it was called Rose. And thank you. I happen to love this show a lot. It has two women protagonists, and that one black, one white, set in the Deep South. And I only mention it because the opening line of the first song in the show is, "We are descended from a long, strong line of women." That's the first lyric. And I hold it to my heart because we are, and I am too. You know, I look back at, well, the ones who came before you, the others yet to come, you know, which is another lyric from Once on This Island. We're all really grateful for just being able to be here and having learned our craft and been supported by, you know, prior generations.
Yeah.
By strong women.
And still learning.
Some good men too,
Never
I
stop.
yeah.
Oh, I was going to bring up Christy. We were talking backstage before we started this morning, and I think it's dovetailing beautifully into what we're talking about now. But when women are empowered, it lifts all boats, to coin that phrase, right? So it empowers everyone around them to be their best selves. And you see that like in Anastasia. The men around her rise to the occasion because of what she's finding out about herself. And the whole island is lifted by what Ti Moon is discovering about herself. And so I'd love to touch on one of the really unique, significant, amazing parts of Once on This Island is that Michael Arden's vision was to mix it up, and we have a female Papa Gay. And then we have the incredible Alex Newell. And so this is another example of how it's transformative for everyone around the central female characters. And I'd love for you to touch on how you felt about Michael's vision. I know one of the things that he's said very remarkably is that he wanted to teach the world that not all mothers are women.
Yes. Well, you know, when Michael Arden first approached us to do a new version of Once on This Island, we were sort of terrified and excited. You know, we wanted the show to come back, and we thought it could be quite exciting, but his vision was very different from the original, and we loved the original so much, and it's so well known, and so, you know, people hold tight to it. So, but we, you know, theater it's good when it changes. It's good when new versions are tried, and so we gave permission, and we actually said, what if it were a completely interracial cast? And we all talked about it, and Michael really felt that the gods should be the ones, because the gods are mythical characters. He wanted to root it in Haiti, very realistically. And so we decided to have pretty much an African-American cast, but the four gods he felt should, because they're mythical and because they can be anything, he wanted to mix that up a bit. So our gods are Lea Salonga, who's Filipino. And we have Quentin Darrington Jr., who's so extraordinary. And right now, Quentin is out with a knee operation, so we have the great Norm Lewis. You know, beautiful god of water. We have as Papa Gay, that was played originally by Eric Riley in the original production. But in this production, we decided, why couldn't Papa Gay be a woman? And we got Merle Dandridge, who is amazing, and she has a leave of absence, so in her place is the great Tamira Gray, who is spectacular. They're both spectacular women, and so scary, and so powerful. They just scare the pants off you. And of course, as in the role of Asaka, which was played originally by Keisha Lewis, the powerful Keisha Lewis who could lift LaShawn's, she was that powerful. We decided that, we found Alex Newell. What can I say? He's a force of nature. And I mean a force of nature because he is such a beautiful soul, so nurturing, like Mother Nature, which is the role he plays, Asaka, Mother of the Earth. It's like, for me, a perfect bit of casting, an unusual and wonderful and surprising and inclusive bit of casting. So I think the point of these choices was to say, we want you to see yourself on our island. You know, whoever you are, we want you to know that you're welcome here. So that was the idea.
Absolutely. Well, you know, at BroadwayCon, we're full of surprises. So please welcome to the stage, Alex Newell! You're amazing.
No, you're amazing.
You took something that I already loved so much and took it to a completely other level. Just a completely other level. How are you feeling about giving a whole new look and definition and a redefining of Asaka?
It's hard, but it was wonderful. I was raised by a single mother, and so I've only had strong women in my life. She was one of 7 sisters, and I always had a house full of aunts, so I get what it's like. And to get this role, I love paying homage to the past. And so whenever I walk on that stage, I'm channeling my best Lilias White. Yay! I'm channeling my best Keisha Lewis. I'm channeling my best Sharon, even in London. Like, a revival is a breath of fresh air. And so, but you still have to take air that's been recycled and use that at the same time.
Like on an aeroplane. What do you feel, I would love to, maybe we'll get a chance, if we have time, to get to this from all of our panel today, but why do you tell the story?
I tell the story because, being that my role was traditionally played by a woman and I'm gender nonconforming, it's easier to it's easy to be a voice for something that not many people have the voice or the platform for. And so I tell the story for those that don't have a giant platform like I do.
And we thank you for that. It heartens me every day when I open my social media and I see what Alex is doing, and I know it must be a lot of pressure in a certain way, but it's also
it's pressure,
so
but at the end of the day,
meaningful.
you can't think of it because you get complacent about it. When you start thinking about your job and what you have to do and how you have to represent people, you think, oh my God, this is the only thing that I can do and I can be the best at that. When you can just be yourself and go to sleep at night and be happy that you did your best, that's the best.
And that is just so beautiful, and I'm just so thankful that we are living in a world where Alex Newell can be so inspiring to so many different people, not just gender nonconforming people, but everybody. Everybody is getting a chance to be inspired by this very new breath of fresh air, like you said, a very new take, a very new look on the story of Once on This Island. And so, once again, we are being gifted. We are being Sunday gifted. So, please make way for our Asaka, Alex Newell!
I've never heard this. Let's do it. But the sea child, you're gonna need a helping hand. A fish has got to learn to swim on land. Oh, little girl, don't you be afraid. Oh, little girl, let me be your guide. Oh, a pretty finger like this will need a finger too. And whatever you need, Mama will provide. Oh, down the road, little girl, you may lose your way. All the food in the world that we seem to avoid. But it's on Mama's line, and I will draw up. And whatever you need, Mama will provide. I'll provide you to soften the road, to sit on, to swim underneath, under your toes, to fill up your belly, to feed, for making your bed.
Mosquitoes?
Oh, so my little girl, and the night will fall. Oh, the moon in the dark, you'll be terrified. But you will make it through, 'cause I'm liking you. And whatever you need, Mama will provide. Hey, ow, 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 ow. Mama will provide. Hey, 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 to give her child the air, and whatever you need, Mama will. Yeah, yeah.
You guys, he does that every freaking time. Every time.
But also, it's before noon, people. It's before noon. Isn't that in the equity rules or something? Oh my goodness. Woo! Yes! I like that. I like that a lot. Let's also please, while we're all amped, give a very special thank you to these folks who are giving up their Sunday morning to be with us at BroadwayCon when they have matinees today. They're about to do their 8th show of the week, and they took their very valuable time to be with us here at BroadwayCon, so thank you. It means so much to us.
We're so lucky to have you!
Well, as I've said many times, it is a literal dream, but beyond a dream. I couldn't have even dreamed that I would be so raised on the music of Ahrens and Flaherty, and then that I would ever get the gift to talk with you, to get to know you a little bit, to follow this incredible path of these two shows over the past couple of years. It is beyond a dream come true, so thank you. I'm so inspired by these women that I am here with today, and so let's wrap it up with why, Christy, it's not the question of your show, but why do you tell the story of Anya?
Well, I always say that I think that one thing that binds us all together is that we're human, and I think that we share art to remind us all that we are the same. And that doesn't matter if you're a princess, doesn't matter if you're a pauper, doesn't matter if you're, what is it?
Islander.
And an islander. Island girl, yes. We all cry, we all laugh, we all have the same wants, needs, and desires. And when we're reminded it through art, it can lift us all up and bind us all together.
Hailey, why do you tell the story?
To give. We walk around in our everyday lives, and you know, it's very easy to go into yourself. And I just love the idea of inspiring people to look at someone that they don't know and to smile and to cry together. The amount of times that someone hands a Kleenex to the person behind them is like, girl, I know. You know, those beautiful human heart-to-heart interactions, that's why I tell the story.
Beautiful. Lynn Ahrens, in many ways, you gave us a story to tell, but why do you tell the story?
Well, I guess it's very selfish, really. You know, I never set out to save the world or anything, but my mother told me stories. My mother used to read stories to me every night and act out all the parts. And I think it was the beginnings of my love of theater and of telling tales in an intimate situation. And I love the feeling of being in a theater. It's like being at a campfire, you know, or around a hearth where you're just with a circle of friends or a circle of family, and you're leaning forward and hearing about a wonderful adventure or a beautiful tale. And I love that sensation so much. So it's totally self-interested. You know, I'm not setting out to, you know, break your hearts or make you laugh or anything. I just want you to be with me and experience the story. And you know, I've felt that way since I was a little girl. And whenever I sit down to write a new show, it's because I have found another amazing story that I really feel I want to tell. So I guess that's why.
We are the beneficiaries of that, so whether it's selfish or not, we all benefit. So we love that so much. You have gifted us with so many incredibly memorable moments on stage, on screen, on our speakers. So we love you for that. All of us here are so inspired along with me by these incredible ladies. Please thank them for being here.